Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, faculty members, new graduates, Dr. Sampson, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. Are you serious? That's a question that many of us ask each other. Sometimes we ask ourselves whether we are serious. My wife, I came home, my wife said to me, Chris Gord called and asked if you would accept an honorable doctorate for your work at Christian higher education. My response was, are you serious? I was brought up in a family where humility was paramount. So my response with, are you serious, was a guarded reaction to combat feelings of flattery and pride. And that's what comes to the surface when you are offered honors. My father chaired a number of Christian educational institutions or organizations in the Netherlands, and he mentored me into doing service in God's kingdom. As a young engineer, I became very much interested in, through the book of Dr. Hendrik van Riesen, Society of the Future. It inspired me and it gave me a different or a clear view, worldview. So becoming involved with the Christian higher education and listening to what the professors of the ICS had to say was certainly took my attention. Some 12 years ago, I received a phone call from Aukje Masseling. She was the vice chair of the institute, and she asked me. I had worked with him, I should say, at the Christian high school, and she asked me if I would join the board of the ICS. They were looking for a new chairperson. I wasn't all that eager, to be honest with you. Could I be serious about this? Being serious about working at the ICS seemed to me to be a stretch. I declined twice because I thought my family and growing business, and in honesty also, I wasn't sure if an engineer or a businessman would be able to connect and help the institute. Now I was being asked to influence and to take on a leading position within a human circle of academics. And who am I? Would they accept me? How could I reach them? And could I build bridges to the community? In the third call, she asked me to reconsider because I declined. And sometimes it's difficult to understand where God calls you and what your answer should be, because His call is not always convenient. So how do you decide? There is a Jewish proverb that states, God conceals Himself from our minds, but reveals Himself to our hearts. So my wife and I prayed, and it moved me to accept. But the question, are you serious, still echoed in my mind. Our secular society takes seriousness, or puts seriousness on the back burner, and it really rejects and pushes faith and religion away as irrelevant. In the Reformed tradition, we often become very serious about our opinions and positions. We forget what it's like, many times we forget what it's like to be open, and we need a good measure of self-inspection or self-reflection. Some of you may remember that many years ago, I forget now when it was exactly, but that students of Calvin College lampooned the publisher of the Banner and the hierarchy of the Christian Reformed Church by publishing the Banana, I don't know if some of you remember that. Was it intended as a farce or serious comment? Indignant church authorities, the targets of the students' satire, rose to chastise these frivolous young people. And of course, there was a time that the ICS professors rattled the establishment of the CRC with the booklet out of concern for the church. Both actions were provocative, asking us to reconsider some traditional positions. And today we look back at that and we smile, but we must admit that there was a great deal of truth in it. And it gives us insight in ourselves and in God's kingdom. Sometimes the idea of seriousness is not about attitude, but about consequences and outcomes. Dr. Timothy Keller, the Presbyterian Church in New York City, states in one of his books, God is dangerous. Don't dismiss him, as if there are no consequences to our discussions and actions. There's no question that today we face battles between the light of God's kingdom and the dark forces of evil. And more than ever, we must guard we must guard our lifestyle and our living and behavior in setting the guidelines with Christian insight for the next generation. Obviously, there were a large measure of seriousness going on in the early days of my association with the ICS. Some of the challenges we faced at the ICS were not easy. How are we going to overcome financial deficits with hope and prayer? And how do you manage academic freedom? And how do you serve the community? They all seem to be serious problems which we circled and discussed and tried to resolve. But in the end, the result and important outcome was the real impact we could have on people who wanted to learn, to think, act, and teach with a Christian vision. During the past 2 years, I was approached by two graduates of the ICS. They both recognized me as former chairman, and they expressed to me the gift that they received and the gift of vision they received from the ICS. One said, I was lost in the secular university, and I found God's purpose for my life at ICS. He heads now up a charitable donation, and he passes on the benefit of his ICS education. The other one works at the television program Context with Lorna Dueck. I don't know if Lorna is here. She is. You must go and talk to her if you have a chance. Lorna informs me that he is a Christian thinker who can give perspective to the complex social problems they confront in television and the media. We may never know the impacts that you folks as new graduates and the graduates from the past are making in the world. I do want to take a moment to share receiving the honor with the staff and the professors of ICS. When I know that I've done something well and want to say with a feeling of accomplishment, it's very easy in a Christian environment to find stories that keep you humble. Being on the board feels like an honor, but you're quickly brought down to earth when you meet people like Ross Mortimer, who seemed to be everywhere to clean up, to do things that needed to be done, and he was there. And the care and commitment of the professors that I experienced during the time that I was there were remarkable, and it made our work in strategy and administration so much easier. In later years, while serving as chair for the Christian Studies International, I found that same deep commitment of Christian professors that we sent overseas under difficult circumstances in universities in Russia, Nigeria, and China. And tonight I will accept today I will accept the honor of this honorary degree on behalf of all the board members and staff and academics who worked so hard with me to make a difference. I also want to honor my wife, who supported me without restraint. Yesterday I received an email from Dr. Hank Hart, and among the statements that he gave me, he said, "Your gracious wife, who frequently welcomed us with a cordial reception at your home, gave your term of office a special, warm, and welcoming character." So I just want to applaud her. At the ICS, we did some heavy philosophical and spiritual lifting. Sometimes with good laughter and humor, sometimes doing grim things we would rather not do. But throughout it all, God revealed himself to our hearts, and we were able to give insight in some complex problems. The question always remains and lingers with me: how do we find God's plan for the position that we're placed in? There's a biblical answer to that, and that was read to you from Micah 6. To walk, to act justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. Over the years, my wife and I have experienced difficult times as well. We walked difficult roads, and we found the greatest blessing of our life in the low points, and we are grateful for God for these things. As a matter of fact, in calling me to a task in Christian higher education that appeared to be too difficult, and people said to me, "It's too late, it's not going to work," God's blessing was found in preventing me of becoming totally swallowed up by an enticing secular business world. C.S. Lewis has a special comment on that in his book, in the Screwtape Letters. He says, "Prosperity knits a person to this world. He finds his place in it while it is finding its place in him." It's a warning to all of us about our human endeavors. Being serious means, in the first place, knowing and finding our identity in Jesus Christ by working out the establishment of God's kingdom in this world. In closing, Mr. Chairman and Mr. President, I'm grateful for the work I was asked to take on in Christian higher education. It has been an immense blessing during the journey of my life, and it was worth serious effort. The honor you give me today will serve as a reminder of the benefits those tasks brought to my life. If asked, I would do it all over again. Am I serious? You bet I am.